The Pit Pass, your personal pass to everything NASCAR, with Alan Bailey and Brian Matthews.
Welcome on into the Pit Pass, your personal pass for everything NASCAR. I'm Alan Bailey.
I'm Brian Matthews.
And Richmond, we said there was going to be drama, guess what?
We called it.
There we go.
We knew it was going to happen eventually.
I know, and what's funny is people were still complaining about, oh, there wasn't that many we had 5 cautions.
That's right.
There was cautions, okay?
Very strategically placed cautions.
But the question now is, were they strategically placed by NASCAR? It kind of gets, the gears grinding a little bit. It was Kurt Busch on Friday night that set the tone for the weekend. He picked up the win in the Nationwide Series for brother Kyle Busch, their first win in the NASCAR Nationwide Series, and in dramatic fashion. Very dramatic finish to the NASCAR Nationwide Series race. Then the very next night, Saturday, brother Kyle Busch / owner goes to Victory Lane in the Cup Series, and guess what? He shouldn't have won. NASCAR took it away from Carl. NASCAR took it from Tony. The emails have exploded, and we have them. And there are actually some pretty funny ones.
I would say pretty good weekend if you were a Busch.
Oh, a great weekend. Can you imagine? You know who I would love to be this week? Mama Busch. Their mother. Can you imagine how ecstatic she is right now?
Yeah.
Both her sons winning on the weekend. Kyle winning in the Nationwide Series as an owner. Mama Busch has got to be thrilled.
Gotta be.
Oh, she's got to be. And it's going to be kind of a wacky show. It's, Richmond, short track racing, beating and banging, This is what NASCAR is. Drama. It's like essentially a giant soap opera, but, it works for us. Now, it's going to be an interesting show. We got to lead off with, of course, our opening lap. Now, Kyle Busch won the Capital City 400 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race at Richmond. First win of the year, his 4th win in a row at the Spring out at Richmond, and his 24th career win in the Cup Series. Dale Earnhardt Jr. finished second, followed by Tony Stewart, Denny Hamlin, Kasey Kahne, Jimmy Johnson, Clint Bowyer, Mark Martin, Brad Keselowski, and Carl Edwards rounding out the top 10. Now, Carl Edwards dominated much of the race, leading over 206 laps, but was black flagged late by NASCAR for jumping a restart. Very controversial move of the race right here. We'll have more later. Now, there were 5 cautions for 31 yellow flag laps, and there were 14 lead changes among 7 drivers.
Jeremy Mayfield said he likely will not pursue any additional appeals in his lawsuit against NASCAR over a May 2009 drug test the sanctioning body said was positive for methamphetamines. Mayfield has until June the 25th to file an appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court, but he said today he is likely to move on from the case, and that has lasted nearly 3 years. The lawsuit stated less than a month after the drug test, which Mayfield claims was the false positive for the prescription medication Adderall and an over-the-counter drug medication. A U.S. District Court ruled in favor of NASCAR in January of 2010 before the case ever went to trial. The U.S. Court of Appeals upheld that ruling in March.
Now, Richard Petty Motorsports has hired Chase-proven crew chief Mike Ford as crew chief for the number 43 team and driver Eric Almirola. The veteran crew chief will join the team after leading Denny Hamlin's number 11 team to 6 straight postseason appearances in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Ford will join the team immediately and will be atop the pit box this weekend in Talladega. The 42-year-old Tennessee native spent the past 6 seasons with Joe Gibbs Racing as Hamlin's crew chief. In that span, he led the team to 17 wins, 66 top 5 finishes, and over 108 top 10 finishes, and has never missed a chase appearance. The 12-year Sprint Cup Series veteran has also previously held crew chief positions for Dale Jarrett at Robert Yates Racing and Bill Elliott at Evernham Motorsports. Ford replaces Greg Irwin, who joined the team in mid-2001. I'm Alan Bailey.
I'm Brian Matthews.
And that's your opening lap presented by PitPass.net. Now, it's going to be one of those shows because I think anytime a Busch wins, period,
it's going to be all emails all the time.
Absolutely. And the fact that we had 2 Bushes win over the weekend.
More emails,
kaboom,
more often, yeah.
Kaboom of emails. Just, it was very interesting, let me put it that way. And we're going to pull up the emails if you want to get in on this. pitpass@audio8ball.com. You can also log on to Facebook and Twitter, keyword search the Pit Pass, and you can get at us. Now, this one, I don't want to say it was my favorite email over the weekend, because that's a hard call. But it's up there.
It's a highlight.
Oh, yeah. It's from Chris in Delaware, and it reads, "The only reason Kyle won tonight was the phantom debris caution at the very end. Just can't let somebody win by 1 second. Throw the caution to give the fans a fake finish. Sure, Stewart's crew was a bit slow, but had there not been a caution, then Stewart would not have pitted in the first place." So blame the pit crews or blame NASCAR? Because NASCAR didn't, hold the air wrench on Tony Stewart's car and make... on the pit stop and make that stop slower than Kyle's.
That's true, but they did see the empty water bottle just outside the groove.
That is true. And again...
And that's what counted.
And that's the thing is, I have to defend NASCAR here. I really do, because, as a guy who's driven in races and who's, you're driving at these speeds, you don't necessarily want to put that chunk of debris at risk. You don't want to have that risk. You want that debris off. But at the same time, we never saw it. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not saying it's not there, but we never saw it. Now, if you were at the Richmond race, please comment us, Facebook us,
let us know.
Email us. If you saw somebody go out there and pick up the debris, let us know.
Toss it up there on YouTube.
Absolutely, because we didn't see it either. Now, the TV didn't show it, which I'm not going to say means that it wasn't there. I'm just going to say that maybe they were caught up in the drama that was going on between whether you should pit or not. Mm-hmm. The Carl Edwards situation was in full swing, so they were talking about Carl a whole lot. Maybe just their cameramen were focused on Carl and somebody missed that debris. Who knows? I wasn't there. I'm not going to claim I saw it because I didn't. So, c'est la vie, as it were. Now, we do have to take our first break. When we come back on the other side, a lot more from Richmond, a lot more Busch thing, and today in NASCAR history. Stay with us. It's the Pit Pass right here on the world-famous audio8ball.com.
Get your motor running, head out on the highway, looking for adventure, and whatever comes our way. Hey, yeah, driving gonna make it happen. Take the world in the loving grace. Fire all of your guns at once and explode into space. I like smoking lightning, heavy metal thunder, racing with the wind, and the feeling that I'm under. Wow! Yeah, driving gonna make it happen. Take the world in the loving grace. Fire all of your guns at once and explode in space. Like a true major child, we were born to be wild. We can climb so high, never wanna die. Born to be wild.
This is NASCAR driver David Gilliland.
David Gilliland wins in Kentucky.
This is one happy crew. You're listening to audio8ball.com.
I spent years learning to cope with mental health problems and substance addiction, and I'm proud of myself. But this world today makes me feel like I need drugs and alcohol again to cope. But then all my hard work would just go away.
Don't abuse substances to cope. Get information and treatment referral at 1-800-662-HELP.
I'll pick you up after school. Okay, I got it.
It's easy to take a day for granted. You and your family are connected by routine, and you stick to it. But what if a disaster strikes without warning? What if life as you know it has completely turned on its head? What if your day's routine is disrupted and you can't reach your family? Have you planned for that? Before a disaster turns your family's world upside down, it's up to you to be ready. Get a kit, make a plan, be informed today. Learn how at www.ready.gov. Ready.gov. This message brought to you by the Federal Emergency Management Agency and the Ad Council.
The world famous Audio8Ball.com. The world famous Audio8Ball.com. Why listen to anything else?
The guys on pit road gave me phenomenal stops to gain me ground every time, even when we were pulling spring rubbers. So can't say enough about those guys. And then, wherever that last caution came from, that was the saving grace, man. Just the luck of the day, and put us in the right position there coming down pit road behind Tony. And the guys did a fast pit stop. Got us to lead off pit road, which was a huge advantage, just being able to give me the control of the restart and, not have to wait on Tony or cause myself to spin my tires or what have you and get behind. So, really helped me out. And once I got out front, I knew I had 10 laps. I could abuse the heck out of that thing and drive it for all it was worth, and didn't have to save any tires. So just kind of goes to show what kind of speed we had in our 18 Camry, M&M's Camry there, final 10 laps.
Welcome back to the Pit Pass, your personal pass for everything NASCAR. The winner in Richmond, Kyle Busch right there, explaining it was the pit stop. Plain and simple, that won him that race is what he said, you know?
It was the M&Ms inside the car. It was the green M&Ms in the car that pushed him over the finish line in a win. I'm very confident.
I thought it was that brown, that new M&M, the brown one that has the glasses, talks like this.
I haven't seen
Was it
that
her?
one. No, haven't seen that one. But I do know the green ones will give you extra power, and that's no doubt what he needed to win last week.
Well, there you go, whatever it was. Kyle Busch getting the win in Richmond Saturday night. And you know what? It wasn't it wasn't like Kyle was, outside the top 10 all night and then had one good pit stop and won the race.
No.
He was in the top 5. He was contending for the lead there. He was one of the top 3 cars. Just the other 2 cars had some issues there at the end. It was Carl Edwards who, got black flagged by NASCAR in a move that clearly he restarted before he was supposed to.
Shame on Carl. But to Carl's defense, they are saying that one of the scoreboards actually had him leading the race at that time, of which he did the right thing.
That is correct. And here's the issue. Here's why that was. A lot of people were saying, oh, Carl was atop the leaderboard, even on the Fox scroll on the television side. It was posting Carl Edwards as the leader. Why was that? Well, it's very simple. There's little transmitters in these cars so that NASCAR and TV can track who's where on the racetrack and speed and all this other stuff. It's a little box that's in the front of the race car. Now, it's positioned at the exact same place on every single race car, so don't want to hear an email about Carl's was further back than Tony's or vice versa, because that's not the case. Now, what this transmitter does is it transmits whoever is in front at that moment at the start-finish line. So, by definition, when they were doing their pace laps, Carl Edwards, for whatever reason, was in front of Tony Stewart during the pace laps. Now, this is common. This is very, very, very common.
They're just warming tires.
They're moving around. They're moving the tires, cleaning their tires off. They speed up to get some, get those rear tires to grip real well. For whatever reason, Carl was in front by a little. Now, NASCAR knew that, hey, Tony Stewart was leading, Carl Edwards was second. That's why Stewart was on the inside. That's why Carl was on the outside. But since Carl Edwards' spotter saw him on the leaderboard as number 1, they thought, hey, Carl Edwards beat Tony Stewart off pit road. It was a close pit road. It was a very close finish off pit road. But ultimately, what happened is NASCAR, they told the spotter, they told the crew, hey, Carl Edwards second. But once the spotter saw everybody shaking out and Carl Edwards being posted as the leader, he told Carl Edwards and Mike Ford, hey, guess what? It's Denny Hamlin who's leading right now, not Tony Stewart. So there you go. It was Carl Edwards who ultimately thought he was leading, so he got on the gas
Alas,
soon.
it was his spotter that thought he was leading.
Pretty much. And now NASCAR...
So now what does Carl take back to the spotter?
Carl basically says, hey, I thought I was leading. And they said, no, NASCAR's saying you weren't. Basically, it was a miscommunication between the spotter, between NASCAR and the crew chief for Carl Edwards and Bob Osborne, ultimately. Now, what does that mean? Well, how does it normally happen, rather? Well, normally NASCAR, if there's a question of who came off pit road in what position, NASCAR, there's a NASCAR official posted in every single pit box on pit road, all 43 of them. Now, that NASCAR official, through the radio, will hear from tower control and tell Carl Edwards, in this case, hey, you're posted in the second position, or hey, you're posted as the leader. Now, they thought, because this is the case 99.9% of the time, when you race off pit road, as a driver, you pretty much know who's in front of you and who's behind you. So more or less, everybody settles their own order out without NASCAR having to step in. It's just how it works. Now, NASCAR saw that Carl Edwards was on the outside, so they assumed, hey, no problem, he knows where he is. We don't need to tell him that, which is what's assumed 99% of the time anyway by these NASCAR officials. Now, what ultimately happened was Carl thought, hey, I'm the leader. For some reason, I'm on the outside. That's okay. Wanted the inside, but that's okay. I'll go ahead and I'll gun it as the leader, and I'll go ahead and pass Stewart before turn 1. That's what he did. Problem was, is A, he wasn't the leader, and B, he jumped that restart so early.
Yeah, we looked at it here in the studio 2 or 3 times, and I mean, it was. I mean, there was. You'd like to say, well, there was a little shadow there, and a shadow here, or an angle here, or an angle there.
He was about 2.5 car lengths behind that line. He had, he should have waited 2.5 car lengths to jump the gas, and Carl didn't. He gunned it, a little too soon there. Way jumped the restart. It doesn't matter if Tony Stewart spun his tires, which he did, and didn't get a great restart. That doesn't matter. What matters is Carl Edwards jumped that restart way too soon, and that's why he got flagged. He also got black flagged because, hey, he's not the leader, and he passed the leader before the start-finish line. So, NASCAR is not going to double penalize him.
Yeah.
Because that's just kind of cruel. NASCAR has a heart, so they said, hey, just come down pit road once, do a drive-through, and you'll be good. Now, it kept him on the lead lap. He stayed on the lead lap because he was leading by so much because he jumped that restart. So he stayed on the lead lap, ultimately fought back for a 10th place finish after another caution and another pit stop. So what could have been for Carl Edwards, really, during that night, but...
What could have, but actually, how it ended up. I mean, when you walk away with the top 10... especially now, especially with all the adversity he had to go through.
Oh, sure.
Shoot, I would take a 10th place. I would take a 10th over a perfect 21st.
Yeah, exactly. But that was the thing that kind of baffled everybody, was the fact that that Carl did that. And, NASCAR, has gotten a lot of flack. Carl Edwards is still very confused. He doesn't understand how he could be black flagged for both at the same time. But ultimately, hey, we got to move on, because guess what? That's in the rear view. Now Carl knows, hey, I got to be clear if I'm the leader or not, and I'm sure everybody else was, including Kyle Busch on that last restart. But now he knows, hey, I'm not going to jump that restart. And it's something that happens very rarely, but it looks so bad on TV because...
Well, it always happens at the most inopportune times, and it always seems like it's when it's really standing out there. It's like when they go to a commercial and it goes, usually it costs somebody a race.
Yeah, and in this case it did. Now, maybe Kyle Busch's car just really came alive there at the end. Maybe Tony Stewart's didn't. Carl Edwards' car, we'll never know if it came alive or not as the leader, because he was outside the top 10, fought back for a 10th place finish.
Well, but he's got to be happy with his equipment.
Oh, yeah.
Not real happy with his pit crew, but he's got to be really happy with his equipment.
Yeah, if you're Kyle, or if you're Carl Edwards or a Carl Edwards fan, what you have to take away from Richmond is, hey, Carl Edwards led 200-plus laps. He's got a good car on short tracks. He's got a, good short track program going on right now. So maybe, when we go to the next short track, he's going to have a good run. When we come back to Richmond at the finish of the regular season, we know Carl Edwards is going to have a good run. So if I was a Carl Edwards fan, I'd take a season that was just kind of average.
Yeah.
Not spectacular.
No.
And see improvement going on.
Well, better than average. Huh? A little bit better? Give him a little more credit than that?
Yeah, he's frankly, leading into this weekend, he was outside the top 10, only had one top 10 finish. Now he has another. This shows me that Carl Edwards can run up front, which is something we haven't seen out of him all season long.
Mm-hmm.
So there is improvement. Now, gonna get to emails in a little bit, but what's going on today in NASCAR history?
Today in NASCAR history, April the 30th, 1972. This is the way it used to go. Richard Petty trounces a field at Martinsville, taking the lead when David Pearson's transmission fails with 30 laps left in the Virginia 500. Petty, who started third and led 102 laps, won by 7 laps over pole sitter Bobby Allison. Dave Marcus took third, 13 laps off the pace. And Bobby Isaac, who led 268 laps, retired with an engine failure while leading after 407 laps. And that's today's NASCAR Day in history. You know why I like that? Because Richard Petty beats this guy by 7 laps.
Yeah.
Everything we see now is a whisker. And then poor old Dave Marcus, he's still just cruising in the car. He comes in third place. He's only 13 laps out.
Oh, yeah.
My gosh.
People complain now, oh, he won by a second and a half. That was such a long distance. Yeah, 13 laps.
Yeah,
that's a long distance.
Well, 26 miles.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
that's
not a whole
long.
lot. That's
a long ways.
distance. Hey, that second and a half, that's a lot.
That's from here to Baldwin Park and back. That's how far that is.
Yeah, exactly. So
but that's incredible racing in the day, though. I mean, he was so much more superior. And, of course, David Pearson also, they're very close. But they were so superior. I mean, because there was so much diversity within the teams.
Yeah. And that was the thing, is you had Petty and Petty Enterprises who had all this sponsor money and all these people that knew what they were doing. Not that everybody else didn't, but they had a lot more resources.
Yeah.
And they knew how to use them. They went out there and won by, just a few laps.
Just a few.
Just a few laps.
It's embarrassing.
Absolutely. It's a day in NASCAR history. Now, we do have some time here before we have to go to break, so I want to get back into the emails. This is a good one here from Nikki in Arizona. It reads, what was the deal with NASCAR taking the win away from Carl on the restart? That's some bull bleep. Well, Nikki...
Well, Nikki, it kind of goes like this.
And that's the thing. It wasn't Carl Edwards' win. You know why? He wasn't first across the line when the checkered flag dropped.
That's correct.
Kyle Busch got that win, not Carl. Now, are we going to talk about this for, a few weeks, months, whatever? Yeah, we're going to remember back to it for a while, probably a few years we're going to talk about it, but it's not Carl Edwards' win.
No.
He didn't win it. Now, was it looking like he was going to win this race? Absolutely.
Looked very good.
He had a great car, but he didn't. So, there you go.
Listen to you. But he didn't.
He didn't. So, moving on. Thank you, Nikki, for the email.
Thank you, Nikki.
We have an email here from Kurt in Texas. It reads,
I like Kurt.
He's cool. Can you guys explain the rules for restarts and the restart zones? Thanks. Basically, here's how it goes, Kurt. It is up to the leader of the race to pick whether he wants to start on the inside or the outside line. Now, once the leader picks, it's up to that leader. The leader then decides when the race restarts between this cone and this cone, which is typically right off of turn number 4 on the start-finish line. It's clearly marked by NASCAR, either by cones sticking out of the fence, lines, double red lines or white lines painted on the wall and on the racetrack itself. Now, in the case this weekend in Richmond, they were 2 white lines that were painted on the apron of the racetrack coming off of turn number 4. Carl Edwards, in this case, clearly jumped the restart before this restart zone. If the leader does not start in this restart zone, he gets black flagged, which is what happened to Carl Edwards, not saying he was the leader, though. So, there you go, Kurt. Thank you for that.
And he actually lucked out by only getting a pass-through penalty after the combination substitution.
Absolutely, because you look at it, what NASCAR sometimes does is a stop and go. You have to come to a complete stop, and then you can go. And that would have cost Carl the lead lap, if not more. And if they held him for, a minute or so, which they've done in the past, then that would have only made things worse. So Carl kind of did get off lucky. He fought back to a 10th place finish. It could have been a lot worse for Carl Edwards. He could have finished easily 2-3 laps down in the 20s. So, you know, kind of making good out of a bad situation, Carl Edwards did. But you know what? He just jumped the gun, plain and simple.
That's it.
Another email here. What happened to Jeff Gordon? Missed the first 100 laps, and no one can give me a straight answer. That's from Phil in New York. Plain and simple, Phil. Jeff Gordon, you know, on a restart, I think it was around lap 40 or so, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere in the first 50 laps of the race. Jeff Gordon was fighting hard on a restart with Kurt Busch and a few other drivers, and basically got some contact, and ultimately it sent him up the wall, into the wall, kissed that wall, I want to say. Wasn't even a hit, it was more of a kiss, and ran over something and cut down a tire. And then had to come into pit under green and get it fixed and get the tire changed out. That cost him 2 laps. At one point, he got one of those laps back and then lost it again on an during green flag pit stops. So, you know, Jeff Gordon's 2012 season continues, unfortunately. Just bad luck after bad luck.
Well, but and again, you wonder when the bad luck is going to be over.
Mm-hmm.
We've been talking about that way with Dale Jr. Hey, when's it going to be over? Well, you know, he showed glimpses last week, posting a second finish. But I think the same thing we've got to say for Jeff. I mean, things have been breaking, things have been going wrong. Mm-hmm. He's had a competitive car. He hasn't had a competitive car. Keep watching. They're going to get their act together before too long, and then watch out.
Oh, yeah, and that's the thing. You look at Jeff Gordon, how his season's been going. He's had good cars, but then gets caught up in a wreck, cuts a tire down, blows an engine, you know, gets spun out because of hard racing, you know, just bad luck in general. Once he finds that good luck in this season, though, he's going to go to victory lane a few times.
I do predict that Jeff is going to be a huge story at the end of the year, and I'm not a Jeff guy. You know me. I'm a Kevin Harvick guy. But I really feel that the guy that is really going to do all of this, and I feel like it's so anticlimactic, but Dale Jr. is going to turn a whole bunch of heads before too long.
I agree.
I can feel it.
I agree. You look at the guy right now, Dale Earnhardt Jr., currently sitting second in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series points, 5 points out of the lead.
Can you say consistency? We talked about this last week on the show. Can you say consistency every week? This is the best racing of his life this year. I mean,
agree.
really, he hasn't won anything, but inside out, it's the most consistent racing he has ever had.
Absolutely, and that's the thing. You look at Dale Earnhardt Jr., he's never gotten off to a start like this. He hasn't led the points in almost 10 years, frankly. It's been a while, not taking anything away from him, but still, we haven't seen this much out of him in so long.
You know what it is? It's maturity.
I agree.
I really think that the way he handles his race car now, the way he handles himself, he's just not Dale Sr.'s kid. He is who he is, and he walks to his own drummer. And you can see where that drum is trying to go, because I tell you, every time he has been on the racetrack this year, watch out.
Yeah, and that's the thing is you look at where Dale Earnhardt Jr. is now. He's in his 5th year at Hendrick Motorsports. He's gotten very comfortable as a Hendrick Motorsports driver, and he's starting to build a good rapport with his crew chief, Steve Letard, who's been with him now. This is the 3rd season. So he's got that chemistry building. The cars are where they need to be. The crew's on par. I agree with you. I think he's going to be a title contender here before the end of the season here. We just got to keep an eye on him and give him a little bit more time to get his ducks in a row, get that first win.
Get those ducks in a row.
He finished second, came really close this weekend.
We'll see. We'll talk about him, no doubt, next week or two, I'm thinking.
I predict this weekend, Talladega,
maybe. I don't know. Does he race at Talladega?
Yeah, he races.
Does he race there?
It's the Pit Pass on AudioWaveBall.com.
Running down the road trying to loosen my load. I got 7 women on my mind. 4 that wanna own me, 2 that wanna stone me, 1 says she's a friend of mine. Take it easy, take it easy. Don't let the sound of your own wheels drive you crazy.
Coming out of turn 4, Joey Logano wins at Chicagoland Speedway.
Hey, this is Joey Logano, driver number 20 Home Depot Toyota. You're listening to Audio8Ball.com.
What is one NASCAR Unites wristband capable of doing? It can inspire a child to go farther in school. It can construct a brand new playground for kids who've never had one. It can introduce a child with a serious illness to his or her favorite NASCAR driver.
I'm Tony Stewart. I wear my band to Unite for Kids. Band together with me by logging on to www.nascar.com/unites to pledge your support.
Hello, car of teenagers. If you don't mind, I'm only going to broadcast this out of the speaker on the passenger side so we can talk without the driver listening in. Okay, now that we're alone, we can talk about your friend's driving. It's okay, he can't hear us. Now, I'd never say this to his face, but he might be the worst driver in the history of the world. You should say something witty. Make a joke about the airbag or something. Hearses are funny, too. You could make a joke about hearses. I better say something to the driver real quick so he doesn't get suspicious that we're talking about him. Still talking to the passenger. Not about you at all. Just going to be one more minute. He is totally going to get you killed.
Find other interesting ways to speak up against reckless driving by visiting our website at speakuporelse.com. Because it doesn't matter what you say, just say something. Brought to you by the Ad Council and speakuporelse.com.
There comes a time in every man's life when he has to say, you know what? I don't care.
Audio8ball.com.
I told myself, don't look in the mirror. And it's just the way it got quiet. I knew Hamlin was breathing down our neck. And the spotter gave me advice on just hit your marks, hit the bottom, and make sure you hold the white line on the bottom. And, of course, I missed it as soon as he said it. And the thing that flashed through my mind was an IROC race that I lost here to Mark Martin a few years ago. He was on the outside on a green-white checker restart, and I was on the inside. And he was able to get to victory lane. I raced him clean, but he had me pinched down a little bit. And so that flashed through my mind of, all right, I can hold Hamlin off for one lap if I hold him down a little bit, but I'm going to have to trust him as a gentleman to do such. And so the racing gods helped me do that today. On the one I gave up to Mark Martin in the IROC series, I was able to get back tonight.
Welcome back to the Pit Pass, your personal pass for everything NASCAR. Kurt Busch right there describing the incredible finish in the NASCAR Nationwide Series race. If you missed it, you might have missed the finish of the year in the Nationwide Series. You might have.
You think so?
I haven't seen all the NASCAR Nationwide Series races in 2012 yet. There's still quite a few to go.
Yeah.
But I think it was a hell of a finish, a great finish. Very dramatic. Anybody who says the drama has gone out of NASCAR in the last year, I dare you to watch that NASCAR Nationwide Series finish and tell me that wasn't dramatic. It was unbelievable. I'm actually very happy that I have that thing recorded somewhere. I can go back and watch.
You and your DVR.
I love that thing. It's the greatest thing ever. Welcome back to the Pit Pass. I'm Alan Bailey.
I'm Brian Matthews.
35 after the hour here in Walnut, California. Now, I want to get on the subject of the NASCAR Nationwide Series here for a second, because it was a very cool win for Kurt Busch. Kyle was there atop the pit box, and you could tell the moment that they crossed the finish line on Kyle's face.
Everybody was embracing it. It was great.
Oh, my God. Kyle just up in arms, yelling, screaming. Rick Wren, general manager for Kyle Busch Motorsports, right next to Kyle. They both exploded in joy. That was cool. That is exactly what racing is all about, right there. The moment of victory right there, and just the pure joy on everybody on that team's face was classic. It was so cool. And the fact that it came at Richmond, where Kyle won his first nationwide race, I think is very cool. And to win as an owner there for the first time some odd years later, that's even cooler. 8 years later, you win as an owner for the first time in the Nationwide Series. And, oh, by the way, it's your brother driving for you.
Yeah.
That is too cool. My favorite picture of the weekend has got to be Kurt Busch and Kyle Busch in Victory Lane in the NASCAR Nationwide Series with their Kyle's wife and Kurt's girlfriend right next to him. The family's all there. That is too cool. That's what racing is all about. Getting the family out to the racetrack, You win as a family, you lose as a family. The Bushes, they won over the weekend. It was very, very cool. But I want to take you to more of the clips from the race over the weekend. Here's what Kyle had to say about the win, and the fact that it was the first, this was the first track that he got his Nationwide Series win on. That was even cooler. It's Kyle Busch.
Kurt's a thinker, man. He knew that I won my first Nationwide Series race here. Never even thought of that, and that's really cool that we were able to bring Kyle Busch Motorsports here and win our first race here at one of our favorite racetracks.
There you go. And it just goes to show you that, is this going to be the snowball effect? Is Kyle Busch Motorsports going to keep winning and winning and winning, do you think? Or are they going to suffer winless for a little while here?
Well, it seems like they've got all the tools in place.
Mm-hmm.
They don't do anything stupid over there.
Yeah.
Okay, and I see good things. I mean, they've got the right people, they've got the right personnel, they've got the right engine, they've got the right package. Why wouldn't they do better?
Exactly. And Kyle Busch, he continued after this one, and he was talking about, would you consider Kyle Busch Motorsports the little guys?
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly how Kyle describes it. Listen to this.
It's a phenomenal feat for, I'd say, us little guys, single car nationwide team, to go up against some of these bigger teams and to be able to have limited resources, building our own chassis, hanging our own bodies sort of, and prepping the cars ourselves, and not really having an engineering staff of 15 guys and all that stuff. We've got one for this team and one for the truck team, so I guess we have two. But I mean, overall, I have to give a lot of credit to the driver. I mean, Kurt did a phenomenal job tonight. I mean, what an effort behind the wheel. Hitting your marks for 150, 60, 70 straight laps, whatever it was there at the end of the race, and no penalties on pit road. The guys did a great job with the pit stops. So it takes a million different things for everything to line up to win these things, and if you have one of those that get derailed, it'll derail your whole night. So all the stars aligned, and Kurt Busch put in victory lane tonight.
There you go. I think, you know what, I think of Kyle Busch Motorsports, I never really thought of them as the little guys, but I agree with Kyle. They have a very limited resources. They have very,
in the real world, they are a little guy.
Absolutely. And it's so cool to see them go to victory lane. I'm so happy for everybody over there because they've been so close a handful of times, and 7 races in.
Yeah, and I mean, you could almost compare their team to Joe Nemechek's team.
Mm-hmm.
Homespun, not very many people there, just enough money to get it done. The difference between Joe and the Bushes is they're getting it done.
Oh, absolutely. And, will this success continue down the road? There's only one way to find out. Got to be there. But I think it's interesting. Denny Hamlin was racing him, and the whole time it was eerie, because here's the Kyle Busch Motorsports car, number 54 on the outside. Here's the 18 car that Kyle Busch took to victory lane almost 50 times. Denny Hamlin's driving it. His teammate.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of creepy to see them side by side and kind of eerie. Denny was talking about basically why he was racing Kurt so hard, and how this was kind of a big win for them. They had a problem early on in the race. He missed his pit stall. On a pit stop under caution, he had to come. It was early on, though. He came back in and had to pit again. It sent him to the back because he missed that pit stall. And he was talking about why, essentially, it ruined his chances, but they somehow fought back for it.
Yeah, I mean, it was close, another lap, maybe another corner or anything like that. But I had the position I wanted on him, actually going into turn 1 on the last lap. He held us down just enough to where when we started banging doors in the middle of the corner, that it was getting my car too loose. And at that point, some people steer right a little bit and kind of get the guy up out of the groove. And but I'd travel too far. I'd come from too far back to kind of do it on a cheap shot at the end. I messed up in the pits and missed my stop, missed my stall. So, I had to pay the price, and if I was going to win it, I was going to do it fair.
And again, that's Denny Hamlin right there. And I think it's cool that he didn't move Kurt.
I think there's a professional courtesy there. I think a lot of it has to do with maturity.
Absolutely. And I think even Denny said it himself, hey, I know what they're doing over there. I didn't want to wreck him. And it's not Denny's style to wreck him. That's not only his friend over there, it's his teammate.
Yeah.
It's his fellow racer. And if he would have moved Kurt, not only would he have, watched out for Kurt on Sunday, or in this case Saturday, but he'd also have to watch out for Kyle on the track as well. So you can understand why he wouldn't do that. And I think he raced hard but clean all night long.
That's fair. Hey, there was another family just about as proud as the Bushes this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
That would be Dave Blaney.
Absolutely.
Do you think he's a proud papa today?
I think he's ecstatic. Ryan Blaney, Dave Blaney's son, made his NASCAR Nationwide Series debut. They had the simple goal, want to finish on the lead lap.
Yeah.
They did a little better than that.
A little bit.
You look at the finishing order. Ryan Blaney in the number 36 Seal Wrap Chevrolet came home, get this, 7th. He started 8th and he finished 7th. What a run.
In his inaugural race.
His first ever race in the NASCAR Nationwide Series.
Wow.
And you look at the people who finished in front of him. You have Kurt Busch, Cup champ, Denny Hamlin, Cup driver, Kevin Harvick, 2-time Nationwide Series winner, Ricky Stenhouse, defending champ, Sam Hornish, Indy 500 winner.
Looks like he likes to ride with good company.
I know, and you look at the rest. Elliott Sadler 6th. It's Elliott Sadler, for crying out loud. You have Michael Annett right behind him. Good run for him. You have Austin Dillon 10th, and Casey Kane finishing... Austin Dillon 9th, Casey Kane 10th. And Stephen Wallace, in the reappearance of Rusty Wallace Incorporated, finished 11th, so that's a good run. Now, another person that made their debut, another driver that made their debut, Travis Pastrana. He finished 22nd. Not too shabby. He said it himself, not what he wanted, but not too shabby. He was actually joking. Danica Patrick finished one position ahead of him in 21st. Joanna Long finished 20th. He got beat by the two girls, so he was kind of, I got beat by the girls.
Well.
He was huffing and puffing over that, but you know what?
Get over it.
Still a pretty good run for his first
time
nation. Out. Yeah, it was a good one, too. And this is Richmond, too. Normally, rookies get tossed to the curb.
Yeah.
At this track, and he came out in the top, in the top 25. That's not too bad. But Ryan Blaney was talking after the race about what he learned during this race for the long haul, and also talked about his next appearance in the Nationwide Series. Check this out: Ryan Blaney, son of Dave Blaney.
Really, biggest thing I learned was we got to be real patient in these long races. I think we got up to 4th before that first caution, and we lost a lot of spots on pit road. I think we were back to like 14th after that first caution, and as a driver, you're mad because you gained all those spots on the racetrack, and then you lose them all in half a lap, and so really just patience in a real long race like this, and there's a lot of give and take out there today. I definitely saw that from other drivers, and I really appreciated it. So yeah, it definitely taught me a lot here going to Darlington, and we'll see what we got.
There you go. And he said it himself. He's going their next race at Darlington in a few weeks here. Good luck. I mean, Darlington is a tough racetrack, especially for rookies.
It will beat you up. It will beat you up and down again.
And that's the thing. You look at Darlington. It was built... Really, it was designed for speeds at about 100, 110 miles an hour. They're doing about $1.60 around there.
You feel like you've come out, like you're just a big punching bag.
That's the thing, is you talk to these drivers after these races out there, and they're physically sweat pouring down them. Their fire suit is soaked. Look like they just came out of the water. They're soaked with sweat because it's a physically demanding racetrack. Very, very, very tough racetrack. Danica Patrick's racing at Darlington in the Cup Series as well. It's her next race. So trial by fire for her.
Yeah.
Really. She's never seen Darlington before, so it's going to be interesting to see what both Ryan Blaney and Danica Patrick do at Darlington when we head there in a few weeks here. So on that note, we're already late, believe it or not. We got to take a break here. When we come back on the other side, we're going to wrap up our talk about the racing over the weekend out at Richmond. Going to hear from Travis Pastrana and what other drivers had to say about Ryan Blaney's successful debut. Stay with us. It's the Pit Pass on audio8ball.com.
I don't mind you coming here, wasting all my time, 'cause when you're standing oh so near, kinda lose my mind. It's not the perfume that you wear, it's not the ribbons in your hair. I don't mind you coming here and wasting all my time.
This is NASCAR driver David Gilliland.
David Gilliland wins in Kentucky. This is one happy crew.
You're listening to Pit Pass on audio8ball.com.
What is one NASCAR Unites wristband capable of doing? It can inspire a child to go farther in school. It can construct a brand new playground for kids who've never had one. It can introduce a child with a serious illness to his or her favorite NASCAR driver.
I'm Tony Stewart. I wear my band to Unite for Kids. Band together with me by logging on to www.nascar.com/unites to pledge your support.
Lobster, harvested from the cold, clear waters of Maine, is truly the world's ultimate white meat. It has a distinctive flavor that's both mild and slightly sweet. Simply elegant or elegantly simple. It is easy to prepare. This versatile food can be steamed, boiled, baked, grilled, or stir-fried, and is equally delicious in appetizers, soups, salads, pasta dishes, and sandwiches. Maine lobster tastes great and is good for you too. It is one of the healthiest and leanest proteins available, containing less fats, calories, and cholesterol than beef, pork, or even the light meat of chicken. Maine lobster contains 0.1 gram of omega-3 fatty acids per serving, which may reduce blood clotting and decrease the risk of heart attack. For exciting Maine lobster recipes and tips on cooking and storing, visit our website at mainelobsterpromo.com. Lobster from Maine, convenient, delicious, and nutritious. A message from the Maine Lobster Promotion Council.
This is a top to what we use on stage, but it's very, very special because if you can see, the numbers all go to 11. One louder.
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
This is audio8ball.com.
Team's confident, we're feeling good, we feel like we're competing well, really close to winning a race, or at least we didn't even really race for a win yet and lost one, so I wouldn't count tonight. But we're getting better, running in the top 5 and top 10s. So we just try to keep doing that. There's too many variables go into races at Talladega to tell who's, whether you feel confident about winning or not. It's just too much going on there.
That's the one, the only Dale Earnhardt Jr. right there, talking about maybe even predicting a win next weekend.
Sounds like it.
Maybe, just maybe. I don't know. It's Talladega. You can always, the big one is always there, but
always the big one.
I don't know.
But you know what? We have not had a big one per se. I mean, we had a little fire at Daytona, but short of that, we have not really had that big 25, 30 car pileup.
That's true. And you're absolutely right, because if you exclude the Juan Pablo Montoya barbecue at Daytona, there really hasn't been that big, the big one has never been there this season anyway, so I don't know. It's interesting. It's a Pit Pass on audio8ball.com, 10 before the top of the hour. I'm Alan Bailey.
I'm Brian Matthews.
And we're talking about the Richmond race. We're recapping the whole thing, and we're almost done here, but we want to get back into the emails a little bit and try to, we got so many interesting ones. We want to try to get to all of them here. Here's one from Mastermind84 that I thought was pretty good. It reads, "Guys, I really enjoyed the race on Saturday. Now that I've said that, I think we should change the racetrack. It will distract from the fact that the hotel rooms are $600 a night."
Wow. Wow.
I thought that was great.
My God.
From Mastermind84.
Mastermind and his poor Visa card.
I know. And of course, if you don't, get the reference here, he's talking about the fact that they're changing the Bristol Motor Speedway. They're taking out the progressive banking.
Yep.
And the fact that in the Bristol area, hotel rooms go for $600, $700 a night.
Because there's no place to stay.
Well, yeah, there's only a handful of places, and they all kind of jack the prices up when NASCAR comes to town. But you know what? I don't know. Apparently, he was a fan of the old Bristol, or let me rephrase, the progressive banked Bristol.
Well, there was someone.
Yeah. There was.
There was one.
There you go. Got another email here from Denny Fan 2011. It reads, "Why did we see more cautions at Richmond than we have over the last few weeks?"
One reason is an imaginary pop bottle that was out there.
An imaginary pop bottle?
Pop bottle, water bottle.
Water bottle.
That they had a caution for. That if you're looking for one, there was one for you.
Do you think that NASCAR was intentionally throwing phantom debris cautions to take away from the fact that there was more cautions?
I would like to think not, but they've been accused of that quite often.
This is true. This
is true. I mean, these cars where these guys are, 15 or 20 lengths ahead of everybody else, and it always seems like the last 25% of the race, we get one of those cautions that we can't figure out.
This is true. And
I don't know, you should talk to the competition committee. I mean, they're the ones that are essentially doing it.
Yeah. And I mean, really, the easiest way to think about it is, NASCAR, they call debris as they see them, debris cautions as they see them, but at the same time, if they see a water bottle on the apron or in the grass or something, or out of the racing group, they won't call a caution. But if it's something that looks like, it might be an issue, then they'll call the caution if it's in the racing groove or it's somewhere where a car could run over it. And that's the thing.
They initially said it was a piece of iron on the track.
Yeah, and that's the thing you have to realize is even if you had the world's greatest binoculars or the world's greatest camera with the zoom, that'll zoom in, to the, speck of dust on the back of an ant on the racetrack. Fact of the matter is, we can't tell if that's a piece of metal, if it's a chunk of rubber, if it's a piece of paper, if it's, needles, if it's, you can't tell what debris is sometimes. You just have to throw the caution and, do exactly that. Throw caution to the wind.
Needles?
I don't know.
You brought out needles?
I don't know. I don't know what's on the racetrack.
You thoroughly had me concentrating, and then you could have said, well, there could have been needles on the track. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Needles on the track, guys.
Oh, jeez.
Let's bring everybody in.
Jeez.
That we're to black flag it just to get all the needles off the track.
I think we have time for one more email here. Got an email here from Fred in South Dakota. It
I
reads,
like Fred.
He's
Fred
cool.
and I are going to be neighbors.
Possibly here. Yes, that's true. That's true. It reads here, how full were the grandstands at Richmond over the weekend? Saw a lot of empty seats during the Nationwide Series race.
The Nationwide Series race looked pitiful.
Well, you know why? NASCAR, and it's not really NASCAR, I should say it's the Richmond International Raceway. They close the seating basically on the back stretch and in turns 3 and 4 and all around the racetrack. They only have the front stretch open. They only sell tickets for that front stretch. Why is that? They basically know, hey, we're not going to get, the cup crowd showing up, the whole cup crowd of 90,000 plus, so let's close these stands so they're easier to maintain, they're easier to clean, easier to keep secure, yada, blah, blah, blah. So that's why they do that. As far as the cup race, last year, 90,000 showed up. This year, 88.
Okay.
Which isn't that bad of a drop-off when you consider, how it's been at some other tracks.
Within 1%.
Yeah, that's not horrible. So there you go. It's not, the end of the world there with that. So we have about 5 minutes left in the show, less than 5 minutes left in the show. So by definition, it's time to get that closing lap in, presented by pitpass.net. And we start with Kyle Busch, who won his 4th consecutive spring race at the 3/4 of a mile oval, and it was overshadowed by the fact that Carl Edwards and Tony Stewart both thought positively that a win was ripped from their clutches. Carl Edwards felt he was incorrectly penalized for jumping a restart with 82 laps to go, a black flag that forced him to do a pass-through penalty in the pits at 40 miles an hour, dropping him from 2nd to 15th.
Edwards was told by his crew that his number 99 Ford was the leader, something the RIR infield scoring tower and Fox TV scrawl validated in real time. And he said he reacted as such on the restart, even though he was starting on the unpreferred outside line with Stewart on the inside. NASCAR Vice President of Competition, Robin Pemberton, was steadfast about two things. Stewart's number 14 Chevy was the leader, and Edwards jumped the restart. Pemberton said the automated scoring system probably tallied Edwards as the leader under caution, even though he said NASCAR made teams aware that the starting order was Stewart and then Edwards. Even if Edwards was leading, Pemberton said he would have been black flagged for starting before reaching the designated restart zone, which was Edwards' main point of contention.
Yeah, big mistake there. Double negative for Carl Edwards. Now, NASCAR stars Dale Earnhardt Jr., Kasey Kahne, and Tony Stewart will all guest voiced on Fox's hit show, The Cleveland Show, next season. In the episode, Cleveland convinces his wife Donna to lighten up and have a few drinks when he takes her out for a local run. And things get way too serious when they end up waking up on the infield of a NASCAR track, and it's up to the Sprint Cup drivers to race Donna and Cleveland home.
I watched the Cleveland Show. I am looking forward to that.
That's going to be interesting.
Animation domination. Fox strikes again.
There you go. And we do have a little bit of news here as well. Top Gear will be featuring NASCAR to premiere tonight on BBC America. You can catch Top Gear's episode, which features its star Richard Hammond exploring the history of NASCAR and telling the story of how the sport evolved into what it is today, explaining its roots. The native Brit visits the Texas Motor Speedway race weekend, and he gets fully immersed in the world of NASCAR. NASCAR stars Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon, and Juan Pablo Montoya all have a guest appearance, as well as Kyle Petty. You can check that out tonight on BBC America. Check your local listings. I'm Alan Bailey.
I'm Brian Matthews.
And that's your closing lap right here on the world-famous audio8ball.com. Now, we got about a minute left here. What do you expect will come of the Richmond weekend in 30 seconds or less?
Fast racing.
Really? Out of the thing that we're going to remember the most?
Fast racing.
Fast racing.
Fast racing.
Interesting. I think tomorrow we're going to still end up talking about Carl Edwards and how it was unfair and
look, it's over, and here we are. We're in day one of it, so I assume we're going to hear more of it too. But the bottom line is that is the way it is. It's not going to change, and we all have to concentrate on where we are at this moment and where we're going to next week.
There you go.
Carl, the only way you can make up for it's by winning, baby, and I can tell you that if you win next week, you'll forget all about what's going on right now.
There you go. Now, check us out tomorrow, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern, and also stay with us for The Leak with Artificial Noise starting at 8 p.m. Pacific. I'm Alan Bailey.
I'm Brian Matthews.
And we'll see you tomorrow, and we'll see you at the track.
So long, everybody.
Audio8ball.com, a service of Mount San Antonio College.
Walnut, California.
Audio8ball.com.